Welcome back, everybody, to the Wild Faith Podcast. My name is Evan Bungham. I have my co-host Luke Timmons with me here today. We are on episode 72, and we have a fun one for you. We are ticking down the days to bow opener here in Minnesota and across the Midwest. So we're going to be talking about food plots today. We're going to be talking about first times and wishing, trying to go through those scenarios of what I could go back in time and figure out those types of things for all those crazy hunts that we've had. And we're going to be talking about how to plan out your fall and not burning through all your PTO. So without further ado, Luke, how are we doing tonight?
Good. Doing good. Summer's just ticking right along, so.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
And sounds like you're a new boat goofing, they call it now.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so new boat. Just not even had it for a week, so.
It's crazy.
It's a lot of fun.
Has it kissed the water yet?
Oh yeah. We got out a few times already in it, and so I was hoping to get out tonight, but just wasn't able to make it happen and start doing some fishing and stuff with it, and yeah, it'll be fun. Already kind of eyeballing the next little projects to do a couple of small upgrades on it. So.
Heck yeah, man. That's an exciting time. It's like one of those things you unlock like a cheat code for life of where it's like now you have access to water whenever you want it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is nice to be able to just like, let's just go out on the river and hang. And
so from your door, how long does it take you to get out on the water?
Depends where I put in, but 20, 30 minutes.
Oh, epic.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's definitely better than before.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting, man. That's and everything's going good, getting settled in now.
Oh yeah. Slowly but surely with the move, but yeah, kids love it here, so we can't complain.
Got the bow range set up in the back, I saw.
Yeah. I gotta get more targets, but yeah, it's nice to be able to shoot out to 60 yards.
I'll bring you some targets. Do you want some 3D targets?
There you go.
I'll whatever. You tell me which one you want. You can pick the cougar. I'll give you the cougar, the boar, or the antelope. Is your choice. Cougar's not as big. Cougar's not as big. The cougar. I was hoping that was gonna be like a life-size cougar, and it's like a mini bobcat.
This little teeny thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll have to let you know after this weekend because I'll shoot the Reinhardt 100. So.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. You did that one last year.
Not last year, but I've done it before. I just don't remember. It was a couple, 2-3 years ago, probably.
I can't remember. Was that a harder one?
No, it's just, I think more so like just the quantity.
Okay.
I think typical shots like 40 yards. So it's nothing, it's not too crazy, like something like Bowfest or Beast Mode Archery, which I've done. So
do they at least have some like nice giveaways and prizes and stuff?
Yeah. You get entered for raffle drawings each. I think they've raffles Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
nice. Okay.
Yeah. And if you end up shooting over because there's 50 in I think it's like 50 Safari, 50 North American. If you shoot 1,000 points, I think you get like a fancy little pin or something. So that'll
nice. They don't have a shoot for a truck or anything crazy.
I mean, hopefully, but no, I don't think so.
Shoot for a boat. How epic would that have been? Shoot for a boat and you win a freaking boat.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Oh. Yeah, as much as I wish that I've had enough time to like fling a couple of arrows in the evening. Mornings have been kind of out of the question. We also just got back from a 5-day rainy lake trip up to the cabin, which was a blast. But I definitely got to get on the train of shooting my bow, of really just dedicating lunch break, supper time arrows, and just getting back into it.
Yeah, I would say anytime you can just fling an arrow is, good. 2-3 here or there, and they start to add up, and it just rebuild that muscle memory if you've been not so good about, keeping up. I know with the move and stuff, I hadn't shot mine in a few weeks, so felt good last few days to really start slinging some arrows downrange and get ready for fall.
Heck yeah. Have you decided when you're going to South Dakota?
Probably similar to when you guys went last year, just before.
Okay. The last week, what is it? The week before, or no, week before West River.
Yep. Yeah. It'd be like leaving Saturday night of Minnesota Gun, probably Sunday morning. Whatever.
Okay.
However it shakes out.
Think of how beautiful that's going to be for you. You're going to be able to go, you're going to be able to bow hunt all the way through Halloween. You're going to be able to have maybe like a break if you want to take a little bit of a break. You're going to be able to take your trip out west. And then you're going to have more time when you come back home, unless you really want to grind it out. And then you can start the Wisconsin gun season.
Yeah. Yeah. There'll be plenty of opportunities, but I'll be interested to see how much I really do. I mean, I'm obviously going to bow hunt, but what that mix of deer hunting and duck hunting will be this year.
Well, yeah. And I know that you've kind of alluded to that a little bit. And I'm more vicariously thinking in my head, since it was funny this past weekend. We were talking through our fall schedules. My wife goes back to work here pretty soon, and we're just figuring out trips that I have and trips that she has. And then it's like, aren't you going to South Dakota for a week this year? Yeah. And I had to give her a look of just pure utter awe, because I was like, no, I decided not to go to South Dakota because I thought it was for the good of the family and staying home with the baby. I'm like, I'll gladly go, but it's too late now. So it's like,
you missed out on all the applications.
The ship has sailed for that. So hopefully we can at least have some decent ones back in the farm. I'm going to try to get some cameras out this upcoming weekend. Hopefully get all the food plots done either this weekend or next weekend. And dude, I'm ready. Bring it on. I love summer up here in Minnesota, but I am ready for fall.
Yeah. How do you go about, they brought up food plots, got me thinking, how do you go about kind of start, let's say you got a farm, how do you go about planning what seed you're going to put out, when you're going to put it out, that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking food plots, this is year 4 on the farm of doing like legitimate food plots and putting in time and effort behind, multiple acres. But you kind of need to assess, what do you have to work with? Are you working off of 10 acres that you can hunt? Are you working off of private? I mean, obviously you can't be putting food plots out in public. You can scout, you can scout areas where you might have like a good acorn drop or something like that, or, fruit trees and stuff like that. But in terms of private ground, assessing of like what you have accessible, do you have access to a 4-wheeler? Do you have access to a tractor? Do you have access to a rake? What do you, so that's like the first starting point is like deciding of, okay, what tools do I have at my disposal that I can use? And then ultimately, like, you're looking at the property itself. Like, once again, we've talked about on the podcast quite a bit, like food plots can be detrimental to a standpoint if you don't put them in the right locations, but also planting the wrong things might be wrong as well. So, the sweet spot for us on the farm, I haven't really planted. This would probably, this upcoming weekend is the last weekend of July. It's probably the earliest I would plant, just for what we're putting in the ground. And we're putting in brassicas. We're putting in some green mix. We'll eventually layer everything with some winter rye down the road. Unfortunately, we just didn't get time to do corn and beans this year, which I would normally put in. You could still plant beans right now. You're just not going to get full germ like you normally would. But I like to do a buckwheat rotation. Didn't get time to get that in because that's pretty much June. Same thing with your screening. But like buckwheat planted right now is still, the deer will munch that down. So it's all kind of relative of figuring out, what you have accessible for equipment. You got to be able to understand your what you have a layout for where you can and can't put food plots in. And then also probably the biggest thing is assessing, like, get a soil sample done. Are you working with good dirt? Are you working with horrible dirt that you got to put a lot of effort into, treating the soil? Because nothing's more frustrating of where you spend X amount of dollars on food plot seed and nothing grows because you're sitting at a 2.5 pH, with your soil. So those are some of the factors you kind of got to play in, right away. But yeah, no, man, I'm pumped to get food plots in this upcoming weekend. I haven't had a chance to play farmer at all this summer.
Yeah. No, it's been a crazy summer for sure, man. What is your go-to just like dummy proof seed? Like if you're a guy who's just getting into food plots, limited access to equipment, nothing, no fancy tractors really or anything.
Yeah, for sure. I would say shout out to Domain. I'm a huge believer in the no BS system.
Yep.
When we first started food plots on the farm, really, that's what we planted. I planted probably 2 acres of just no BS, and that was with a harrow drag on a 4-wheeler, and that was with a rake, and that was a couple rudimentary, like carved out food plots with a chainsaw that we put in, I'm sure, like the middle to end of August, not really knowing what we were doing, how to do it. We just did it. Yep. But I really, even like now, I like factor in that part of the budget to make sure that we have that, because I really like that mix. And, it's super simple. You just got to get that seed, get that soil contact. I mean, the biggest thing I could say at this time of year, especially if you're going to plant early, so we're talking like end of July, southeastern Minnesota, specifically what I'm talking about, it even all the way up until like the second weekend of August, you're really planting around rain. Like this, we were just talking before we jumped on the podcast here. We're looking at rain Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Is each day is a 40% chance of rain, so you're kind of gambling a little bit, assuming that it's going to rain 3 days or 2 days or whatever it is. For sure, one of those days is going to rain, and that's so crucial in that first, I would say, week to 2 weeks of that seed's life. Especially when you're doing like an approach like that, where it's a no-till. That seed's got to get moisture. It's got to get worked into the soil. And that's what's going to allow it to germinate. It's not like, you're planting beans or corn where they have a little bit more protection when they're buried in the soil. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, really, man, no BS from Domain's probably my favorite food plot seed of all time.
You ever worry, like let's say it did rain hard 4 days in a row. You worry about too much rain?
Yep. I lost about $1,500 of switchgrass seed, three springs ago. That was that's a little different time frame being in the spring, but that was a hard pill to swallow because I kind of went all in on this habitat plan for the farm.
Yep.
I wish we would have had the tools to drill it like we did, but we didn't. We got some stands that come up. I just know I lost probably 85% of my seed. But in terms of like now, the odds of us getting, I shouldn't say that, because I mean, look, it's happened across the country. We've had flash floods, and especially in southeastern Minnesota here, we've had some pretty crazy rains. And, it's just one of those things that it does happen from time to time, just like we go through a drought from time to time. But if you do get a really bad rain and you just kind of get that gut feeling of, if you plant it in a lowland area where you are close to water and maybe it did flood out, this is still a time that you can go down in the woods. In my opinion, you're not rooting your hunt for the fall. Like, it's a good thing to go check and see. But, if you got pooling water and that seed's sitting in that water, it might not be a bad idea a week once things dry out to go and just reseed it again.
Would you rather have a drought or really, really wet?
Wet. I don't know. That's a hard one. It depends for both circumstances. I mean, like, I think of was it 2 years ago we had a really bad drought, or was that 3 years ago? Did we go from a really wet spring to I think that was 3 years ago. We went from a super incredibly wet spring to an absolute, just like didn't rain till like September. Because I remember you and Eric like working double time. We replanted everything. Yep. And we it was perfect timing because we salvaged it. All the plots ended up growing just fine. But that was we got to start from scratch and start over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's never fun.
No, it's not. because it's expensive. And I think that's the one thing too. It's like you can get into the food plot game relatively really cheap. I mean, we're talking, if you start talking acres, you get into a little bit more logistics of where it's going to make things easier, having the equipment, having the resources available to do that. But if you're just doing like some kill plots or some micro plots in terms of that, like, man, a rake, literally a rake, a chainsaw, weed whipper, and your seed costs, which might cost you 30 or 40 bucks.
Yeah.
And that's all you're talking. But that's where it's like, when you start breaking down the logistics of like size and planning, this is where it's all into what do you have in your budget? Mainly, what do you have in your time budget? Because I think that's more relative of like, do you have time to put in 3 weeks into planning food plots, or do you have time to do 1 weekend a year to your food plots? So these are all things that you have to be realistic with yourself. Like this year's been kind of a hard pill to swallow for myself because, having the baby and not being home. Thank God for my brother and you for the help that you guys have done out there, because it's like, I would be so far behind at this point right now that there would be no way logistically I could come home next weekend or the weekend after that and plant. And especially at the quantity of what we're trying to plant, we're trying to get 4 acres in this year. So it's like the odds of that happening are little to none.
What would you say is too small for, like, if you're thinking like property size, like at what point is a food plot just not really worth it? Or is that ever a case? I
don't think it's ever a case. I mean, like, for example, we'll drop two scenarios. Let's say you have a 10-acre farm and you're a transition farm. You're in between two wood lots. And, I'm thinking of a farm in particular that a buddy of ours hunted, and, you're in between two wood lots. You're a huge traffic. You're basically like a traffic jam where you're at, where you have really good deer movement, but it's only 10 acres. Yeah. Same thing with a water hole. I think with like a micro kill plot, you're only maximizing the time that those deer are spending on your property before they leave. That's the whole point of having it. Now, flipping that around to, like, let's say you have 60 acres. Well, you probably have enough land, depending on your habitat situation, of where you could probably actually house and live some deer on that property, where you're not just, you might have 2 bucks that live on that farm, or 3, depending on how the habitat's laid out, including maybe 2 or 3 dual family groups. It's all relative to where you're at and the lay of the land. But if that's the case, you can start breaking it down. It's like, how many acres are feasible to plant? So if I can do, I look at a 60-acre piece, if I could do 4 acres, if I'm in egg country, there's a good chance that 4 acres probably makes it all the way through the year, just because I'm in egg country. Now, you put 4 acres up into a stand in northern Minnesota, and that's the only food that's around. That's probably going to get leveled before Halloween even happens, to where you might have to plant double or triple the acreage amount, just because that is the sole food source outside of woody browse for those deer.
Do you ever find yourself utilizing like Onyx for crop layers? Dude,
all the time.
Yeah.
It's so, the only thing I would say, and there's no way they're going to know this until they start doing like farmer surveys of where it's like, okay, what's the next crop rotation for Farmer John down the road? Like, is it going to be beans or corn this year? Because our farm is very dictated by that. Like, if it's a bean year, I know we got a really good chance early season in a couple locations on the farm, like all the way up, I would say, until middle of, almost the Halloween, that middle part of November, of killing a good one. Eric did a couple of years ago, and then we, Cole shot one a couple of years ago, and we had chances at other ones. But in the years that we have corn, that deer's got to either be living on the farm, or we got to wait until the corn gets out, because there's just so many fence rows that those deer can live on and hide on, and just the odds of us crossing paths are just so much slimmer. But using that on Onyx, I feel it's a super cool tool. Maybe not more or less on the private land side of stuff, but for public, it's super huge of finding those corner pinch points of where, up by us where we live in central Minnesota, there really isn't a lot of ag, but there is. Sure. And seeing those on the maps of where it's like, all right, hey, that's a potential bean field that really is enticing for me to go scout that and see if it is a bean field. Because if it is, that piece of public is probably going to be really good for those first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely found myself using that crop layer more so like out west.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, for chasing muleys and whitetails and stuff out in South Dakota or North Dakota, it's huge. Because it's like all of a sudden you find, it's either an access point that you can get on, or it's like, you got a wheat field that's on top of this ridge, but it might be 4 miles back in a piece of public, but that wheat field's on private. And it's like, I can guarantee you that all those fingers down on that draw are going to have a ton of deer in them.
Do you find them more so kind of switching topics here, but out west, do you find that deer are more so apt to come up in the evenings or in the mornings? If you're hunting those, like we're talking, if we're hunting some of that egg stuff.
Yeah, I've seen it both ways. I mean, I really think that, it depends on, if we can get really technical, I guess, like once again, like I'm not a huge believer in the moon. I think weather trumps all that. But at the same time though, too, I feel like I just, from being out there and like watching deer, like I know they're moving up to feed in the evenings. And like, if it's a full moon, it's like they're probably going to feed all night out in that food. And then they're going to get back really early, getting back into their beds. So I think it's, for sure. I think they're both going up, and they're going up in the evenings. And I think they're going down back in the mornings, I would say, is the primary thing. But I've also seen it too, where, I wouldn't say they're going up to feed during the day. I'd say they're probably feeding more at night and feeding later into the night to the early mornings.
Sure. What's like the biggest piece of advice you could give somebody on a Western hunt, like South Dakota, just starting off?
It's a loaded question.
Yeah.
I would say your gear, understanding what you have for gear. And we're so guilty of this, usually the first 2 days of the trip, of packing absolutely everything in the kitchen sink, and then you just bog yourself down. But I think the biggest thing is maybe tapering your expectations a little bit to where it's like your first, saying it's your first trip. Like, are you going to see, this is all relative, but it's like, are you going to see a giant out there? I'd say your odds are pretty good that you're going to see a deer that you probably have a caliber of a deer that you've never seen before out roaming around out west. Doesn't matter if it's South Dakota or North Dakota, just for the fact that you could see so far and you can cover so much ground with glass, where the odds of you seeing one is pretty good, but not getting fixated on where it's like, oh, I saw 160 inch. I'm going to shoot that deer or nothing. If you have that mindset, that's great. Like good for you, but you might not kill one for 7 years.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of like going out there and being successful, I feel like just like whitetail hunting in the woods, where it's going to take you time to understand how to put in stocks, how to position yourself with the wind, how to do all these things. Like you got to fail to learn. So I think that's probably my biggest thing, is where it's like tapering them just a little bit, where it's like, you know what, there's a raghorn 3x2 or a forky out there. It's like, he's giving you a shot. Like that might be your only shot of the trip. Like, and it's your first one. Like, don't hold yourself out where you don't kill a deer on a trip, especially when you put in all the time and the money. Because I would equivalent it to like killing does back home. Like if you haven't killed a bunch of big bucks and you can't kill a doe with your bow, like you should probably start whacking some does and some little bucks to get yourself on par when you're ready for that shot on a big one. But I think it's the same thing out there.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
How about you?
Yeah, the not packing Too much is the crutch of mine. I got better a lot, though, especially because I was solo. But it's just part of the experience. You gotta learn it to know what not to do next time. Good pair of boots is completely essential.
What would you recommend for boots?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so until that happens, I'm not saying brands.
Well, I know, but I mean, would you rather go out there with like a tennis shoe, or would you rather go out there with like an actual because you obviously, I mean, common sense, I would assume you would never want to go out there with like a muck boot.
Not unless you hate your feet.
Yeah, but do you think people can get by just with a regular pair of hunting boots?
Depends. I mean, if it's a 1600 grain thinsulate boot, then no.
You might die.
Yeah, you're like carrying concrete in your shoes. No, I mean, it just depends on the season. If you're doing a lot of moving and spot and stock, and get something light that fits your foot, well, that goes back to, it's like the same thing of shooting your bow. You got to put miles on your boots before you even think about going out with them, because if you're breaking them in on the hunt, you are going to be one sour person. I'll put it that way. But yeah, I mean, find something that fits. It's just like for running, find a shoe that fits you well. Don't be afraid to change.
If you had to break down, I'm going to give you a couple categories first, but let's talk, since we're on the boot train, let's talk clothing. So this whole segment is on for really anybody that wants to get into their first Western hunt, and if you're talking going Western to like the mountains, you'd maybe take this times 2, because you're going to have to do a little bit more logistic planning than just going out to the prairies, we'll say. Mm-hmm. But so in terms of clothing, give me your top 3 items outside of boots, like that you would have to have. And we'll just say you're going out middle of October in South Dakota.
That's a good one. Not counting boots. I mean, a rain suit's pretty essential. I'm still trying to find one that I really like.
Like the frog dogs.
No.
I wish we could have had a video of that. That was just such a horrible moment, but
that was that we talked about last time where we were sopping wet and we had a 7-mile hike out. I was like, I'll just put these on because it started raining again, and put my foot right through the side of both pant legs. I'm like, great. Great. Frog, I mean, if you're going up to the boundary waters or something, those things are perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, Western hunt. But yeah, rain suit is up there for sure, because if you're sopping wet, you are going to be a sour guy. Good. You're talking like mid-October, so odds are it's not going to be super cold, and you're going to be moving. So light pants that aren't super hot, because I've made that mistake of wearing really hot pants, and then again,
terrible.
You're hurting. Yeah, I would just those are 2 things, but same thing for. I mean, if you have a really good set of merinos, that's going to be essential. Probably a medium weight merino for that time of year.
I think that's my number one thing.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be a complete merino kit: underwear, top, bottom.
I think merino wool is one of the greatest gifts in terms of clothing, and being that it is, for the most part, it's all natural. I highly recommend spend the extra change in getting good merino wool, not the synthetic kind, get the real kind. There's so many good brands out there. I mean, I've had really good luck with the, why can't I think of the brand? It's not Badlands are good. I know Black Ovis. I've had really good luck with those, and it's going to keep you cool, going to keep you dry. It's going to keep you warm. It wicks moisture like no other. I mean, a good top, a bottom, and socks. And you could, you're talking this is gross to say, but like I would wear them for the whole freaking trip.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a gritty trip. Yeah, that's the facts of the matter, right? Yeah, I mean, I would say that would be my 3.
Okay, so clothing, those are your 3. What about talking in terms of like technical gear now for your setup? So this would, this could be like backpack, rangefinder. This could be anything like in the realms of that, outside of your bow.
Yeah, I mean, find a pack that fits you for starters, because I didn't the first time we went out there and I was miserable. But
what'd you even have? I don't even remember.
I had the bear tooth, that the big one for Mystery Ranch.
But I think you had the wrong size, didn't you?
Yeah, I had the large, extra large, and I needed like I don't know. I had one size too big.
Yeah,
just because I'm short, and so.
It makes a difference, though. I mean, especially when you got weight
because like
on your
last year,
shoulders.
I went with that same pack, but with fit me, and it could have gone weeks, kind of thing. So yeah, find a pack that fits for sure, and get a good bino harness. Mine's on its last leg; it's kind of falling apart, so I'm probably due for a new one. But something that's gonna fit your binos. That's a key. If you're rocking some like 12x52s, some vinyl harnesses are just too small.
Mm-hmm.
And then a solid rangefinder.
Would you rather have a like kick-ass bino harness or a really good pack?
Really good pack.
Really?
Okay. My bino harness is like a $70 nothing special.
I agree with the pack, but man, I think having, I don't know, you know me, because I'm like a squirrel. I just store shit everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
I think a good bino harness, especially a lot of the newer ones that have come out now, it's almost like a Swiss Army knife, because I look at it like that's on the final ascent on a stock. Mm-hmm. That's the one piece of gear that you probably still have on you. And like having a good bino harness that allows you to have accessibility to like your wind checkers, if that's milkweed or a wind puffer, of having like, I've got a survival kit, headlamp, matches, or not matches. I've got a lighter and a pocket knife and stuff in mine, where it's like, if I got stranded for 3 hours on a stock, like I'd have enough stuff to like get me by.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's always those things that are nice to have, but if you're getting into it, definitely, I'd put my money towards a pack, because that'll make or break your hunt, I think.
Okay. And then for the last one, talk to me a little bit about like, you could talk about, well, actually we could talk about both. Give me a breakdown for like your bow and for a gun setup, like what you would recommend.
I mean, with the bow, whatever you're shooting, and just shoot the hell out of it.
Yeah.
I try and do like a range of different shots, I guess, if that makes sense. So like not just yardage, but like, okay, I'm going to lay on my belly, like, in the backyard, and slowly get up to a knee and take a shot, or slowly get up to a knee and then squat up and take it. You know what I mean? Like just so it's like the first time you're trying to pull back on a deer and you're doing all that stuff, it's not the first time you've ever done that. Like there's some, maybe not experience there, but something, where you may be shooting from one knee, you may be like in a half a squat and taking a shot. So just practice a lot. I mean, and then gun, I mean, I don't like spending money, so I would say find a gun that's multi-species use. If you're just going out for muleys, then I mean, you can kind of probably shoot whatever. But I mean, if you're thinking about going out further west, doing some elk hunting, moose, something bigger, take that into account, I guess, maybe. So, and don't skimp on scopes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, a lot of guys will say like you spend $1,200 on a gun, you're going to spend that at least on a scope.
For sure.
It sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Like it's night and day when you're looking through, a $300 scope compared to a $1,000 scope. And, it's all relative because it's like whatever you can afford, go out and do that, because, again, like people get so caught up, I think, sometimes in the dollar signs of throwing hundreds and thousands of dollars into their gear, but they don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So
I think there's like a fine line between like both of where it's like for a bow, same thing with a gun, but like you should have a setup that you're confident in is probably the biggest thing I would say. Like, doesn't matter price point of what you spend for money. I think bow hunting wise, like you should have a middle of the road heavy / light arrow, something that you can get good speeds out of, but something you're confident with. Where if that's shooting a 450 grain arrow with a rage, and you know that you can shoot that sucker out to 60 yards and you can hit a pie plate, like great.
Game on. Yep.
And then same thing with a gun. Like I just look at it where it's like this, like you're same thing. Like you should be confident to shooting to 250 yards. And then
at least.
Well, yeah, but at least, but know your your distances too, where it's like, can you shoot to 400 yards? Have you shot to 400 yards before? Should you take that shot at 400 yards? That's where it's like, for me, it's like a bow, it's a little bit more obtainable just because it's closer distance, not a lot of ranges. I would say you have the access to shoot out to multiple hundreds of yards, but like, be realistic with your shot choices.
Sure. Yeah. Practice. It's number one.
So I would say the last question I've got for you in terms of gear, and you've had a couple trips out there now. What's the one piece of gear that's, I guess, is kind of made or broke a hunt for you in terms of just like success or just kind of making it a better hunt?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say
jet boil.
Jet boil. Well, I'm gonna have to cheat and do two because it's a jet boil, but it's with an AeroPress. So,
oh yeah, coffee.
Yeah, being able to,
fancy coffee.
Yeah, well, and just the fact that like, yeah, I guess you could just get those single instant coffee packs, but if a trip's gone, if you're on a middle of a hunt and during the day and it's gone sour, there's not too much that's other than a deer. Yeah, that is going to pick your hunt up. For me, anyways,
it's a morale booster, solid through and through.
Cup of coffee, especially if it's been wet and cold and you just need to warm up or something. Yeah, nice strong cup of cowboy coffee on a side hill in South Dakota. About as good as it gets.
Yeah. No, that's I'm trying to think. I have the jet boil, whatever the cooking one is called. It's not the Mio, it's the something like that. It's a weird name. I've got that one. I've got the French press for it, and dude, it is. Oh yeah, that's my favorite thing. Like you could have it a shit ass day. It's cold, and having a cup of coffee before you know that you have to go put on 4 miles is like a little bit of a morale booster. It makes it at least better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yep. Or those gritty, day 4 morning, and you're just like, hurting to get out of bed or whatever, and quick make a cup of coffee. It's game on.
Yeah. No, 100% for that. So kind of switching pages now just a little bit. I want to talk about, falls on around the horizon. Both you and I pretty much have known for the last 4 months of what we're going to be doing for, out of state hunts, what we're doing for in-state and stuff. And I feel like people that are kind of diehards about it, usually by about springtime, they're already either putting their points in for, wherever they're going to go at for their preferred state for out of state stuff, or they're thinking about what they're going to be doing for fall. Tell me a little bit about like maximizing your efficiency in the fall for planning, if it's an out of state trip, if it's planning your in-state, because like, once again, we're both busy dads with kids now. Life has changed a little bit for us where we couldn't do what we used to be able to do. So what's a guy or a gal got to do to be efficient and not like burn through all their PTO in the fall with having success?
Don't take any in the spring and summer and winter. That's what I do. I don't take very little anyways. I will hold on to my PTO like it's the golden goose until, and then strategically plan it well in advance too. So, I was talking to some buddies this weekend about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm just randomly taking half a days here and there from, October until mid-December in the thinking more so for duck hunting on this note, but like during the week where, I can sneak out and hunt the morning and then be back to work by, 12 o'clock, no problem kind of thing. Granted, I have a, job that lets me do that, which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, I'm stingy as stingy gets with my PTO until fall. And then it's like throwing it all on red because, and then the other part of that too is, yeah, it's, yeah. Yep.
Well, I think with that too, like you got to be, once again, with like all this, you kind of got to be real with yourself. Like you not that you're lucky, you've worked your ass off to get in the position where you're at to have that flexibility. But for I would say the people out there that are working a job where they don't have that flexibility, like maybe if it's something that you're truly passionate about, like that's something I would put into consideration, or was giving yourself a job that gives you flexibility to hunt more if that's what you want to do,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you either make time for it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
It always like pains me a little bit inside when you're talking to a guy and you're like, and he's like, yeah, I haven't hunted ever since I had kids. I'm like, oh, that's
why.
It's like, I get it. It's hard, but it doesn't mean you have to quit, because now you're just, that's a whole nother
you're setting yourself back.
Well, you're setting the next generation back too,
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm itching for the days where my boys are like, cause like I laugh. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, how am I going to say no when they're like, Dad, we could just take off school today and go hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to pretend like that's a bad idea.
Gosh, shucks, son.
It's like, oh yeah. Why don't we take Friday off and go duck? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Will you move? Like, what you say?
I'll never move again. I'm never doing that. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Well, and like, will you move your vacation around for weather?
Yeah. I mean, cause I've gotten burned out in that in years past where it's like, yep, I'm taking, I think in Minnesota, I'm taking off that, like, depending on how the calendar falls, like that late October, early November, that whole, whatever, Monday through Friday up until, Saturday gun for Minnesota, taking that week off. And I've done that before, and it's 50-50 on sometimes the weather. Like the week before before that week, I've had it where it's been like absolute perfect, cold front, even maybe some snow. And then that week it's 80 degrees and you're like, great, now I'm stuck with this.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this week now? So yeah, it's definitely kind of rolling the dice sometimes. And it's just, I mean, it's figuring out what works for you, what works for your family schedule. That's a big one, obviously. What
about honeydews for the fall?
Honeydews? What do you mean?
Well, just like, every I feel like every husband or person that has a significant other, there's always the honeydew list and like shaping your life around, like, I shouldn't say shaping your life around that, but like, if you've got kids and stuff, like making sure before you've got a trip of dotting your I's and crossing your T's to make sure your family's in a good space of where, it's like, hey, honey, you know what? I today's a really good day. I want to get out and go and hunt. And, like, any advice for any young men out there for that?
Happy wife, happy life.
Yep.
Kind of a no-brainer. No, I mean, like, it's like you gotta, like, especially once you have kids, you gotta be realistic too. Obviously, you can't just go out and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be gone from mid-September
and spring
and every weekend. Like, I'm sure my wife by the time mid-December hits is probably like, thank God this season's wrapping up. But it's not like I'm gone every single weekend or weeks at a time. It's usually one big, about a week-long hunting trip in the fall, and then weekends here or there. You got to make time for your family. You got to go do things, trick-or-treating, Thanksgiving, Christmases, that kind of stuff. That's all important, especially when you have young kids.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, get them involved out when you go hunting. Like, it's a dance. It's a fine line of making time for yourself, which seems selfish sometimes, but you do need to do it. Where you get time alone to just decompress and connect back with God, and then get your wife and your kid. Yeah, Jenna and I went out for our anniversary last year and went duck hunting in a canoe. So, I mean, I don't think I would have ever put any sort of money on that ever happening, but we did it and she loved it.
You gave me an idea for my anniversary this year.
Good luck. Yeah.
Got to find a babysitter.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Now that's the truth with kids.
That would actually be a hilarious episode because I know nothing. I shouldn't say I know nothing. I think if you gave me a duck call and some decoys and just said go, I think I could kill a duck. Multiple ducks? I don't know. I think I'd kill a duck, but if you just took my wife and I together and just put us through the gauntlet of like, okay, get up at 3, go put the decoys out, get in the canoe, do all that. That would be a very interesting anniversary story.
Fun reality show.
It does.
No, I mean, it's true. I mean, I think, it's, yeah, I mean, doing that kind of stuff, definitely you test the relationship early and get through some of that stuff. You'll be all right.
I think some of it, I think of like me and Autumn when we first started dating, like she's still really into it now. She just doesn't come out anymore. And that's just her choice. But like we had that magical evening. We killed 2 bucks the same night together. She killed just an absolute hammer of a turkey and then kind of retired after that. And she's like, yep, seen enough, done it. Don't want to do it again. I'm like, but she knows that Nora loves it and I hope Millie does too. But, my one thing I would say, I think as you get older and more seasoned as a hunter, I think you learn to be more efficient with the days that you have. And you get to be more of like that assassin tactical type kind of like mentality of where it's like, hey, October 27th, there's a cold front coming through. I have 2 days to hunt within the next 2 weeks. Like I'm going to make sure that I can make that happen, that hunt on that day, regardless of what I have going on in my life, but that's where it's the fine dance, like you're talking about, of balancing family life, which is first and important, and then work, obviously, and then making your best effort to be out on those high efficient days rather than, how many times have both you and I been out where it's like been a shit, horrible day. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to go hunt the hunt. And then you add 10 of those hunts together and it's like, that's more stress on your family, more stress on your work when you probably shouldn't have even been out in the woods, Yeah.
It's always, I mean, yeah, it's 1,000,001 different things at the same time. But yeah, I mean, find a woman that supports you and your, hobbies and adventures, but at the same time, you got to be willing to step up to the plate and be a good husband, be a good dad, sacrifice, but not maybe sacrifice, hey, I'll put the kid, there's always a little bit of bartering sometimes, like, oh, I'll put both boys down the next 3 nights and then I get, then it's the weekend and I go hunt, not that I get to go hunt. It's not like she's, oh, you got, I have a very loving wife who supports me in all my craziness, but yeah, I mean, it's just life, figure it out as you go. And it's crazy.
Heck yeah, man. So kind of talking about fall again here, and this might kind of come off as a little brash of a question, but I think it's a little relative because, we're talking about hunting and putting time in the woods and stuff like that. And I feel like we have so many distractions now in just life in general and while we're out hunting. What would you say to someone who faces boredom in a tree stand or being out in a duck blind? What would you tell them?
Put your damn phone away. We're all guilty of sitting in a tree stand playing some stupid video game on our phone or something. But I think if you truly just take the time to actually like just be there and listen and watch. I mean, there's not too much else that you need to pay attention to, because, you know, whether it's just watching the woods just come alive, especially in the morning, you know, watch birds start chirping, squirrels start coming out. I mean, you'll be shocked at, I think, how much you actually see that you would have missed if you're putting your nose down in your phone. I think that's honestly, that's what it is nowadays, is people that are like, oh, I can only sit for a couple hours. It's like, well, it's because you're, I mean, my opinion, you're lazy, you know. If you can only hunt 2 hours, like, and you gotta get to work or you gotta get to a function, that's a completely different thing. But if you're literally hitting boredom at 2 hours, it's like, well, maybe this isn't for you there, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I challenge anybody out there to, you know, if it's meditating or if it's praying or whatever that is, like, give those first couple of moments to prayer. And I think you'd be amazed what your eyes can see. Like, I had a moment the other night when we were up at the cabin. It was wild, man. It was like 2 a.m. I got up on a whim. Nora was sleeping in the tent and I wanted to get out and go look at the stars. And I went out there. I think I prayed for like 2 minutes. Stars were really cool at that time. And all of a sudden I saw this light. So describing where we're at, we're on Rainy Lake. We're on an island out there in the middle of nowhere. We got a couple of surrounding islands that are by us. It's grandfathered in. It's a pretty sweet spot. And all of a sudden I see a spotlight. I'm like, what the hell is that? Looking up at the trees. And it just looks like someone's just standing there underneath the trees, shining this spotlight. And this is, it's 2 a.m. So I'm like looking around. I don't see, it's just the stars, Milky Way. There's actually a little bit of northern lights kicking on. And all of a sudden this light is just glowing. This is like immediately after I got done praying. And I'm looking up at it and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And then some clouds kind of covered a little bit. And dude, sure enough, it was just the moon. It was the biggest moon it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like the closest and the biggest I've ever seen the moon. It was only like a 3/4 of a crescent moon, or maybe it was like a half moon. Sure. It was just like profound. It happened in like 25 seconds. It felt like just happened so fast. And it was just, I don't know, it was beautiful. It was crazy. And it was just like, my eyes just got instantly opened up and I was like, well, that was pretty cool. That was one of the more cool things I've seen in a minute. But it was like, I got out there, enjoyed the moment, didn't have my phone with me, didn't try taking pictures, just like enjoyed the moment. And it was magical.
Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly, man. That's the whole art. Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, it's when you just take the time to actually be out in God's country, you'll be shocked on how much peace you can find out there.
Amen to that. All right, man. I got some rapid fire questions for you, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Sweet.
Are you ready?
Yep. Okay.
So first thing, what is the go-to number one thing that you're throwing in your pack, either in the duck blind or in the bow stand? What's the first thing that's going into your pack?
Butt wipe.
Butt wipe.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Smart move.
Yeah. Been one too many socks sacrificed.
Okay. So let's go with both deer and waterfowl. You get 1 day to get out and hunt. Pick a day.
Does it have to be the same day?
No.
Can be one for deer, one for duck.
Yep. One for each.
Oh, that's tough. I would say I'm going to go Halloween for deer because we talked about that last time.
Solid choice.
Waterfowl, I'd probably push it another couple weeks. So like mid-November.
Ooh. Okay.
Maybe even later, depending, like now that, Wisconsin, I can hunt later. So maybe even like Thanksgiving weekend or not, weekends, but yeah, something late November where you get like a really good migration push down kind of thing where you can just go put the hammer down.
Okay. Love it. All right. So next one is same thing here. Duck blind, bow stand, snack of choice. Could be the same. It could be different for the scenarios.
I'm not a big, like it's one thing if I'm out like in South Dakota and I'm just out all day long for snacks, but I'm not a big snack guy in the
I'm not either.
So I'd just go with coffee, I guess.
I think the only time I'm like snacking is when I'm doing like a 6-hour sit in a tree stand and it's freezing cold and it's the only thing that might keep me warm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so what's one hunt either you wish you could get back from last year or one hunt that's still like stuck in your mind?
From last year?
Mm-hmm.
South Dakota. Yeah. Would have, if I would change anything, I would have probably gone. I probably wouldn't have hunted the weekend. I probably would have got out there like, instead of because I got out there Friday morning, scouted, season open Saturday. I probably would have got out there Monday at some point and started really hunting Tuesday.
A little bit of less pressure.
But then at the caveat of that is
in the snowstorm.
Well, it wasn't snow. It was like 80 mile an hour wind things. And it was like,
you could have came on one of those hand gliders.
Literally. Yeah. Like maybe not even that week, but just time and pressure aside, that's what I would have changed. Can't change the weather.
Last one. What is the number one thing you were excited for this fall?
Get into some ducks in the river. Itching.
Love it.
Yeah. Now, especially that the boat's sitting in the garage.
Can you give us just maybe a sneak peek of like thoughts or like what's to come with the boat?
Lots of fun. No, I mean, I've been doing some filming here the last couple days here. It's been kind of just crazy. I think this is the first weekend, and this is only weekend 3 of being down here, but is it weekend 3? Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah, weekend 3.
Wild.
So it'll be. I think this is like the first weekend where we have. I mean, I shouldn't say that because I'm shooting that Reinhardt 100, but that's not too crazy. Yeah, no plans. Nobody's coming down. So just get some solid filming in this weekend. But basically what I want to do is do like an intro to duck hunting where it's like, I'm about as novice as it comes. I mean, I've duck hunted the last 4 or 5 years, but from a canoe or from shore or just out in fields. So really just doing a deep dive into some river hunting and kind of hitting everything, the boat, which is what I'm filming right now. And then getting into things like scouting here once we kind of get deeper into August and closer to, early teal and stuff like that. Everything, decoys, calling, that kind of thing. But yeah, it should be fun to really, like I said, just do a real big deep dive into duck hunting and something, I don't know. I just have an itch to do it. Maybe it's because I've just been getting my butt kicked by deer hunting the last decade. So we'll see. Hopefully it's not the next decade of getting kicked around for ducks. I might just retire and become a fisherman.
Well, that's not easy either.
No, I know, but
oh, maybe we should just get into like, I don't know. I think I would rather endure the suck and just be shitty at it and still do it than do really anything else.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Sweet.
Guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through faith in the great outdoors. We hope today's episode has inspired you to seek God's presence in the wilderness and deepen your connection with nature. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Wild Faith Podcast on your favorite platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll continue to be a part of the Wild Faith Podcast community. We'd also love to hear from our listeners, so please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions, comments, or topic suggestions. You can connect with us on social media or through our website. Your feedback is important to us and helps us improve and tailor our content to better serve you. And always remember, the great outdoors isn't just a playground for hunting and fishing. It's a sanctuary for finding solace and spiritual renewal. As you gear up for that next adventure, I pray you find God's presence in the crackling of a campfire, the thrill of reeling in your catch, or the quiet solitude found in nature. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Wild Faith Podcast. Take care, and God bless.